This time of year, I generally get a couple of questions on people who are on vacation, who pass by an antique sale in some town out in the outskirts of the state or in a different state, and they want to know if they can buy a given utensil and kosher it so that they can use it in their kitchen. And the answer to that is usually complicated. It's based on what kind of a utensil it is, what kind of an item it is, and whether that's considered to be kosherable. The laws of koshering utensils are found in this week's parsha, in Parshas Matos, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the Jewish people after they returned from Midian. Hashem had told them to destroy Midian. And they returned from Midian after having destroyed the majority of the people. They returned to Midian with some captives, and along with the captives and livestock, they also have various utensils. And so Moshe tells the people, if you want to use the utensils, then you have to make sure, depending on what it is, that it's koshered by the same method by which it's used or it became treif. So for us, on a practical level, if a person were cooking something, let's say they were boiling soup, and it turned out that the soup was not kosher, or the soup was the opposite of what the pot was, and they needed to therefore kosher the soup pot, well, they would use water in place of soup, because just as the treif or the tarfus went into the walls of the pot, so too it would come out with the same amount of heat. And that's what the message that Moshe tells the Jewish people. This is the way Hashem wants us to kosher items when they come from non-kosher sources. Now, what's so interesting to note here is that the instructions for the Jewish people are given in this parsha after they defeat Midian. But it wasn't the first battle that the Jewish people won, and it certainly wasn't the first time that the Jewish people had taken booty from a victory over an enemy. There was the war of Sichon, there was the war of Og. Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, brought booty then. Why is it that here, with a particular battle over Midian, Hashem instructs the Jewish people to kosher and to make sure that we go through the koshering process, the kosherizing process, in order to use the utensils? So Rav Menachem Mendel of Kotzk explains that there is a tremendous difference between this battle, this war waged by the Jewish people with Midian, and the battle waged when it came to Sichon and Og. When it came to Sichon and Og, there was a physical battle, a battle over space, a battle over an area, and it was a battle in which the Bnei Yisrael were challenged, and they were victorious. That was a very straight battle. It wasn't a battle of ideology, it was a battle of space. When it came to Midian, however, it very much was a battle of ideology. The reason why Hashem told the Jewish people that He wanted us to fight Midian and smite Midian and be victorious over them and destroy them was because of the fact that they caused the Jewish people a tremendous plague. If we remember, just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, in the end of the Parsha, we're told about the sin of Baal Peor, that the Jewish people were enticed by the women of Midian to worship idols, to worship Peor. And through this action, there was a great plague that came upon the people. Ultimately, Pinchas was the one who, through his action, ended the plague of the people. So Hashem felt that the way in which the Jewish people were to rid themselves spiritually of the damage done by Peor was to fight with Midian, to battle Midian, to conquer Midian. And it was because of the fact that there was a spiritual element to this battle that the distinction was made between the victory over Sichon and Og, where the Jewish people didn't have to kosherize the utensils that they took in the booty in order to use them, whereas here, when it came to Midian, they were required to, because the vessel, the utensil that they took as booty, here had within it, on a spiritual level, had become impurified, it become impure because of the nature of what Midian represented, because of the idol worship, and because of the method that they decided and wanted to entice the Jewish people, and did so successfully, as to worship their idol. There was a part of the Jewish people that needed to be purified. It needed to be cleaned out because of the damage that was done. And that's why the mitzvah of Hagalas Kalim, of koshering vessels, is in our parsha as opposed to any other parsha. Certainly this is a message which is important to us as we enter the 3 weeks. We still are terribly distressed with the situation in Israel. It's a moment for us to look at ourselves and to recognize the fact that the tumah, that the impurity that surrounds us, somehow, some way has impacted us and impacted our potential for growth. And important for us during this period of time to look at ourselves and think about, on an objective level, how the impurity of the society around us has gotten itself into our lives to the extent that it has made us less spiritual people, to the extent that it has caused us to have damaged somewhat our connection to Hashem, and to really send us on the road to repenting and making today a better day than yesterday. May we be zocha to focus on this lesson, and as we kosher vessels, as we kosher kelim, make sure that we also kosherize not only the utensils that we use to eat, but also that we ultimately kosherize ourselves, our inside, our hearts, when it comes to the worship and the service of our Creator, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.